What's up? What's up? What's up, you guys? It's your boy Chris Lee TV back again with another video today. I have with me Mr. Burgundy. He is someone I met through Instagram. We have some really dope mutuals. So what he does is what I saw online was like a lot of real estate stuff. I follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and he was always posting like really knowledgeable stuff about getting into real estate, just like making me think like, okay, like if I get into real estate, what do I need to do? And then like he would post something and it would like make my, you know what I'm saying, make my wheels spin and be like, okay, that's a dope you know what I'm saying, way to like different strategies and things like that. So I had spoke to him a while back. And I was like, truckers need to know like how to get started into real estate, how to buy the first property, renting versus owning and things like that. So I wanted to bring him on the channel and shed some light for us so that we can get some knowledge on the real estate side. So, Mr. Burgundy, you want to introduce yourself, give us a little background on who you are.
Hey, what's going on, people? First and foremost, I want to thank you, Chris, just for bringing me on the channel. I definitely appreciate, you bringing me on the platform. And I know that this interview is going to be very informative for everyone watching. My name is Richard Presume. I'm a full-time real estate investor. And pretty much, I got started in this business by way of graduating college and moving out of New York City because it was really expensive. And I did a job. I was working for the state, and at the time, I knew that I wanted more for myself, and I wanted to build a legacy because I knew at the time that I couldn't pass down my job to any of my future children or anything of that nature. So I kind of started looking at ways to invest and how to make more money. And I, fell in love with real estate. I used to be an agent. I actually studied, passed the test, everything. But then I realized that I didn't want to sell real estate. I wanted to invest because I wanted to make money without trading my time. So that's when I began investing in real estate. And I've been doing that ever since. It led to me leaving my full-time job back in 2020 during the height of the pandemic. I just quit, and I've been doing real estate full-time since.
That's dope.
Yeah.
What did you study in college? Like what?
I have a bachelor's in criminal justice with
Okay.
a minor in business management. So I originally, I was on the business track, and I loved it. And then I fell in love with criminal justice, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. But then I
Right.
realized, back in like the 80s and the 90s, lawyers were kind of like what stockbrokers and like not personal finance, but what those guys on Wall Street were today. So like over time,
Right.
the career kind of like the salaries didn't grow with the cost of going to law school and everything else. So when I found out how much it would cost and how much I'd be making, I just realized that it was better to just stay in the career that I had as opposed to going to get more loans to only see maybe like a 10K or 15K increase in salary. So
Yeah. That's a good, you know what I'm saying? You gotta scope out that kind of stuff because it's you paying you know what I'm saying? You're paying those student loans back or whatever you have to pay back for the rest of your life. So that's a very, very smart pivot that you made. So is like, as far as the real estate, was there anyone in your family or like in your immediate circle that was already in real estate that kind of like got you like in the mindset? It was like, okay, like now I see what those numbers are doing, or was that like just solely off research?
it's crazy because I have some family that have done real estate or that are currently doing real estate, but they didn't do it the way that I'm doing it now. It was really
Right.
just like I had a lot of time on my hands even when I moved down here, and I was just like online, just researching, and I just kind of tapped into that community of just the investing world, the young people, financial independence,
Yep.
retire early, just all of that stuff, and it trickled down into me just strictly focusing on cash flowing properties to eliminate a day job.
So that's what you invest in now is it like turnkey or
I
when you say
do like
cash flowing property, is it like you're buying and rehabbing and then you're putting someone like a tenant in the house and then you're just holding on to that house?
exactly. So, but like I kind of do a little bit of everything. Like I'm not doing flips or anything like that, but like I'm doing mostly cosmetic work, nothing major. Like I'm not, buying them homes that are like sticks and that you got to build from the ground up. Like no,
Right.
I'm doing stuff where I got to come in, have windows changed, add a new roof, all new flooring, paint on the outside, paint on the inside, new fixtures, new kitchen, new bathroom, like that type of thing. If you go on my page, you can see some of the projects that we did.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely want to talk about that because I have a investment property in Michigan that I'm working on doing some things too.
Congratulations, man.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. And like I said, my guy Roderick, he talked me into like getting it. He was my guide to like, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, me and Roderick had some we had some conversations, and I told him like one day I was like, dude, it's a house for like this amount of money. He was like, that's it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I should buy it. He's like, boy, you better pick it up. He's like, I don't care what it got, what's going on. He's like, buy it. So he was like, I'll come up there and help you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you need, just get it. So, shouts out to him for helping me, push me in that direction of becoming an investor. But
that's dope, because I think just to piggyback off what you said, I think that's really dope that you got him to reach out to, because when you getting started in this space, if you don't have anybody that's like already doing it, like it's easy for people, like as soon as you tell people like your plans or whatever, it's easy for them to discourage you, or
yes,
like
sir.
to put that negative energy in your head, like, oh man, it's not gonna work.
And that happened. That happened.
Yeah, so, having somebody doing it is really important to keep to keep you pushing.
Yes, sir. Because it was like the people who were saying like the naysayers and stuff like that, they weren't in that field. But then the person who was like, do it was like, I could see, you know what I'm saying? Because he's posting on Instagram. He's like, you know what I'm saying? You clearly see that whatever he's saying is working because he's doing it. You know what I'm saying? What they're saying is working too, also, because that's not what they're doing. So that's why they're saying don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't buy because they haven't bought. So I understand what you're saying. That's 100% facts. So okay, so we got the New York to Georgia, and then you became you kind of started investing in real estate. So I believe you said you became a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
it didn't last too long though, because because I mean it's like another job, you know what I mean? Because like, and the way like I think is like, you like being an agent, like what people don't know until you really build a client base, because it's a very referral based business. Like if you don't build a base of people that are buying or selling, like you're not going to make any money. But it
right,
costs to be an agent. It might cost you like $500 a month, between all your agent fees, being on the MLS and paying, having that access and stuff. It might cost you $400 or $500 just to be an agent. So you're already in the negative, every month, unless you make a sale or something. And it takes time for you to build those relationships and be able to make sales. So it's kind of like, you're entertaining people and planting those seeds, but you don't get to eat the fruit until a while later. So but
right,
your bills are still coming up every month. So if you don't have something that's supporting you, or you don't have a full-time job that you're doing, you're not making any money. And
right.
me being newer to the area and also being pretty young, that kind of two things working against me too, because I didn't know anybody
Right.
that was buying homes, you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So I
Kind of
quickly figured out that I don't want to have to do that. I mean, it's great, but I just figured out like every month I want to collect the check. That's really what I
Yes,
want to
sir.
do. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about investing and stuff like that, but I want to bring it back to kind of like the normal 9 to 5 person who is looking to buy a home, possibly invest. Um, I tell guys like when they get out on the road to save their money, if they don't have a family or anything like that, then there's no really need for an apartment, right?
That's true.
You save all your money, you're out on the road, and then you come home. Like I said, then you have the choice of like whether you want to rent or buy.
Mhm.
So can you walk me through the buying process, and then what
Um,
your thoughts are on the rent versus buy?
okay.
What is a process for someone who is a 9 to 5 worker and they're getting W-2, and then on top of that, also truck drivers are 1099, some are 1099 as well. They own companies. Um, what do you think are some of the best practices and processes for like first someone with a W-2 to get a home, and then someone who is a 1099 contract worker to purchase a home?
Okay. That's a very loaded question. First thing I want to say is for the people that are W-2, they're like, the banks love W-2 because it's easy for them to calculate that, every 2 weeks you're going to make this amount of money.
Yep.
So there, it's a lot easier for you to get approved when you're W-2 versus when you're 1099 and doing contract work. It's going to be a little bit more stringent if you haven't been doing that type of work for a while. Sometimes I've seen some banks ask for a year of seeing a 1099 or 2 years. You're definitely going to have to have your tax returns handy because you're not going to get a loan unless you paid your taxes or current with your taxes. But I've seen it as being much easier for somebody to get a loan doing W-2. It's still possible with a 1099, but it's going to be more labor intensive as far as your documentation.
Right.
Like they're going to want to see bank statements. They're going to want to see pretty much, you're going to have to give them everything, except your unborn.
You're telling the truth. I've asked my mortgage, one of the people I reached out to get a mortgage. And that was one of the questions I asked, because having a W-2, I think 2 years at a W-2 to get an FHA, or she wanted to give me the conventional loan. I'm not sure if 2 years was required with the conventional, but I know that looking to buy my first home, they did want that 2 years of being stable 9 to 5, just real consistent.
Yep. But I mean, it's still possible. It's just, you might not reach out to like that type of lender. You're really gonna have to shop around a lot more. Whereas like if you have a W-2, pretty much any lender's gonna want to work with you. If you got a W-9, they'll work with you, but they're gonna want more upfront to kind of show that you're able to pay.
Right.
Well, with that being said, I think people in that field, like in that space, they should be looking at a way to put down some money. I wouldn't say put down 20%, but I mean, put down, if you can go conventional with 3% down or 5% down, I would go that way because, you're still able to keep that 15% as as a buffer, just in case if things get slow in the trucking world or anything were to happen. And, the difference in, paying 20% versus paying 5% conventional, you're going to have to pay something called private mortgage insurance, PMI. However, the PMI that you're paying, it might be like $120 a month. And, to some people, that's like, man, that's an extra $120 a month. But what they miss in that is that how long would it take you to save $20,000 if that's the difference between you paying 5% versus you paying 20%? You see what I'm saying? Like the biggest thing is you getting your foot in the door, especially if you're buying like multifamily or something like that. Those properties tend to be even more expensive. So if you could put down the 5%, you'll be okay paying the PMI because one, it's not going to be coming out of your pocket if you're doing multifamily or if you're house hacking or whatever that may be, and you're able to keep that extra 15% and save it. So then, like the next year or whatever, whenever you're ready to buy the next property, you can put 20% down on that one, as opposed to like, basically making your process a lot longer to save $100 a month, which is not going to matter in the grand scheme of things, because it'll take you like 5 years to save that 20K.
Right. So in trucking, it may take, I'm saying I got a guy who saved 30K in like 6 months. So, but he stayed, he stayed with his parents, so he wasn't paying those extra bills. That's why I say, like, if you get into the industry, just cut off the insurance for the car insurance. Try to have no car payment. Try to have no really apartment, especially if you're single, because that's where you're really gonna clean up. You're gonna clean up a lot. So,
if you do, just make it like minimal, because I can't imagine somebody not having a car, even if you're on the road or whatever. You might. For the times when like you're at home or whatever, you might want a vehicle, you might want a place to call your own. I would just say to make it so that you basically put yourself in a position so that it's not a huge expense. Like, if your car insurance is like $40 a month, that's not going to be the difference between you being able to invest. If your car payment is like $150 a month, not a big deal. You can pay that easily. But if you got a $500 car payment or, a $2,000 apartment or something, then it's going to be hard.
Yeah. Because that adds up. That's almost $3,000 right there.
Yeah, and I've seen it like that where, as soon as people make it, they run in and spend it, and it just makes it hard for you to keep up because, you're going to have to earn a ton to be able to be comfortable.
Right. So before I get too far ahead of myself, you spoke about investing in real estate. I wanted to just ask you, like, what were some of the issues you had, if there were any, when you started investing?
Man, anything to be honest, like anything that could have went wrong did. Like it was, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, I started and it was like overnight. Like the
Mhm.
first time when my wife and I got started, it was even getting started was hard because it's just like, you don't know where to look. It's, a lot of different information from different
Mhm.
places. And at the time it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. This was like maybe 4 or 5, no, we're in 20, yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago. So it was still popular, but it wasn't like as simple as it is now. Well, not simple, but it's not as mainstream. So it was still like, taking a big risk. But we had we had we went to like 2 or 3 contractors just to get that job done. Like people quit
Yeah.
on me, uh contractors running off with your money. That's why like now, we put systems in place where I'm not paying, anybody anything up front. I'll if
Yep.
I
I
hire
heard about
somebody,
that. Yeah.
yeah, if I hire somebody for a job, I'm gonna pay for all the materials myself. So those are my materials, and I'll pay them in different draws. So like I'll pay them based on the amount of work they do. Because for contractors, some of them, they like it's just like in the name. Some of them can con you.
I never
If
even
you're
thought
not,
about that.
yeah, I mean, if you're not careful, and that's one of the few industries where people expect to be paid before the work is done. Even as a trucker, you don't get your check until the end of the week.
Mhm.
You can't go to the company and say, "Well, I'm gonna do 2,000 miles this week. I want half of my money up front, and then the other half after I do the miles." That's not
Right.
gonna work. Contractors, they may say, "Okay, I want 30% up front," and they're gonna tell you, "Well, I gotta buy materials, I gotta do this, do that," and they can take that depending on how big that job is. They can take that 30% and you never see them again.
Mhm.
So just to protect yourself, I always tell people, hey, go ahead and go buy the materials yourself. Go with them, buy the materials. It's your materials. And as they do the work, you just pay them. So you might do 30% after they do a certain amount, another 30%, and then the other, what is that? The other 40% after everything is done and you don't work through it. That way they're as invested in the job as you.
Right.
Because that first time, people ran off with money, and
Mhm.
it didn't break me, but it just made me, see it as a learning experience. I just
Right.
had to charge it to the game,
Yes,
and
sir. That was
and
going to college right there. They charge
yeah,
you for that course.
yeah. And I mean, you learn a lot faster. I feel like whenever you have money on the line, because every mistake you make, you're losing money or
Right.
you're losing time. But I mean,
Right.
that's one thing with real estate that I think is very good. Is because most of the time there's almost nothing that you can't come back from. So even though
Mm.
I spent more money up front as far as remodeling the property, and it took longer than I expected.
Mhm.
Um, in the end, it still worked out because I stayed. We stayed patient. We didn't just say, okay, you know what, this person ran off with $1,000. I'm done.
Mhm.
I'm selling the house. It's not for me. You know, we just learned and we just said, okay, as soon as the next person came, we already had a formula, and then we had to fire him.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then we had to hire somebody else, and then the last person, he was decent, and we still use him to this day for
Right.
windows and things of that nature. But it was a great learning experience. Like and granted that that deal, like that property didn't, it didn't change my life financially, but the
Mhm.
experience I gained from doing it changed my life forever.
Understood. So two things from that. I like how you said that like y'all really didn't lose from that. Like you did lose some money, but the longer you have that property, you're gonna recoup that money like 10, 20 fold. And
Mm-hmm.
I like how you said, you know what I'm saying, we didn't sell, we didn't give up. Because like you said, like you're gonna get that money back. As long as you have that property, like, and when it's paid off, all that money is coming to you, right? So if you did make a couple mistakes in the front end, on the back end, you're gonna make up for that, right?
Yep. And I mean that's the way to think about it. And that's
Yeah.
that's another thing that I like about real estate, because it's kind of, I don't want to say it's permanent, but like, you don't get that daily fluctuations like the way like some people
Stock
would get it.
market.
And like,
Yeah.
like kind of like the stock market and things of that nature, where you
Yeah.
got that daily panic of fluctuations in the valuations.
Hmm.
It's pretty much concrete, so you already know what it is, and
Right.
it's like a long term type of thing. So
And then I want to tie that into, like you said, we were talking about, because we're kind of going back and forth between like investing and having a home to live in, right?
hmm
So in a home to live in, when you're buying a property, there are going to be some issues. You know what I'm saying? Homes aren't perfect. Sometimes you have to replace a roof. Sometimes you have to paint a wall. So sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you need pavers and you need a deck or something in the, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you want to make improvements. So that contracting thing still ties in, because you're
yes,
going to need a plumber, you're going to need an electrician, you're going to need, like you said, a GC to come in and maybe do something and make improvements on your home. So that story that you told, I think it goes both ways for like an investor or someone just buying a property who's going to live there. And like you said, um, buying that first property is still an investment. Um, do you mind going into more detail on how that first property can be an investment, even if you don't want to do something like house hacking, um, just off of equity in the home?
okay, sure, yeah. I mean, um, when you, at least the type of homes that I look at stuff that like not really turnkey, because like in real estate, turnkey is kind of like you're buying it after the work has been done. So somebody else bought
Hmm.
it when it was, depressed or not in its ready to sell condition. They
Hmm.
fixed it up, and now they're selling it at market price. So if you buy
Right.
it turnkey, there's nothing wrong with that, because if you're going to be like a first time home buyer, or you just don't want to be, you just don't want to deal with the, dealing with contractors, and then turnkey might be the, like the way for you to get started and
Hmm.
not have to go through that type of headache. But for me, getting it while it's a little bit distressed is better, because you can add that value and reap that equity.
Hmm.
So you buy it for 100 or 150, and you put 50 in it, and now it's worth like 270. That equity is yours, as opposed to like, if you buy it turnkey, somebody already did the work. You might be buying it at like 260 or 250. There's not much meat left on the bone by the time you get to it.
So as far as like defining equity, equity is can you give your definition of equity?
Equity is how much, basically it's how much you own of the property. So if you have a loan on the property, or if you don't, well, equity is how much, well, if you have a loan on the equity would be how much you own versus how much you owe on it. So if it's $100,000 property, it's worth, 100,000, let's say, and you have a loan for 80,000, you have 20% equity in the property.
Hmm.
That's a simple calculation, and as you pay monthly, your equity portion increases and the
Hmm.
loan amount decreases.
Right. Understood. And then you can increase the equity different ways. What are
Mhm.
some ways to increase equity in the home?
You can increase equity by adding value to the property. So if you were to add an additional bathroom or additional bedroom, that can increase equity. If
Yes,
you were to
sir.
add certain improvements to the exterior of the property, if you added like granite countertops,
Hmm.
stainless steel appliances, updated windows, newer roofing. If you had a home that didn't have central air and then you added central air, those are ways that you can increase your equity and
Very
improve the
dope.
property at the same time.
Yes, sir. That's very dope. And then also the turnkey. Can you give me like turnkey is just buying a house that like it's like you said, it's kind of explain you kind of it's kind of self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure we double back and make sure the audience understands these terms that we're using. So turnkey is just buying a house that's already have all the improvements, right?
Mhm. So basically, when they say turnkey, it's pretty much ready to move in. It's like
Right,
moving ready. You don't have
right,
to do anything. You just go ahead and bring the moving truck, and it's ready to go. That's
right.
turnkey.
Got it,
Yep.
got it. That's a great definition. Um, so man, this is some really good stuff. I want to thank you. Thank you very much again for coming on. Um, So buying property versus renting. You said that you were from New York, so like you said, the real estate in New York, California, like Jersey and stuff like that, it's really expensive. And you said it didn't make too much sense to rent and I mean to buy in those areas due to the high home prices. Um,
Well,
yeah,
I don't want to say I
yeah.
don't want to
You
make
tell me what's when it's good to rent and when it's good to buy.
I don't want to make that broad of a statement because you might have some viewers out in New York like, man, I just bought a home and what are you saying?
Yeah,
It just depends. Like that's the thing with a lot of this personal finance. It just depends. It depends on you and the situation. You know what I mean? Some people,
totally.
if you know going into it that hey, I'm from New York, or I'm from DC, I want to live here forever, I want to raise a family,
Hmm.
then of course at some point buying is going to make sense because you're
Hmm.
there forever, so you're paying that forever. But I knew that I wasn't going to be in New York forever. I knew that I was on my way out, and
Understood.
that only the price of real estate and the price of renting only furthered my decision to leave because I was like, man, it's like 2,000 a month for rent. I could go somewhere else and rent for
Right.
like $1,000 a month or something of that nature. So it just depends on the person's goals and like what they're looking forward to, or but in the long term, buying almost always wins. Over the course of like 30, 40 years, almost always.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's very dope. Do you think it's a age like someone being too young to be getting into real estate?
Nah. That's one of the beauties of the industry is like, I think you can take your exam at like 19 or something like that, and you don't need a
Mhm.
college degree or anything like that. There are some costs associated with taking the course and studying for it and passing it, but it's not nowhere near as expensive as a college degree. And anybody can invest because you just need money to be able to, money and like just capital to be able to get a loan or to purchase a property. So there's no age limit on that, which is another good thing.
For
You know,
sure.
yeah. I mean, we purchased our first home in our early 20s, which was like that's another reason why it was important for me to leave New York because I knew that was going to be a lot harder there.
Where was what state?
Georgia.
So that's where you purchased the first property in Georgia. And how
Yeah.
many properties, if you don't mind me asking, do you guys have now?
A lot.
For
Not
real?
enough.
That's dope. Yo, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah. I
I'm very
mean,
impressed.
not enough though.
Hey, yeah. So any multifamilies are all single?
Now, we have a really balanced portfolio. So some single, some multi, some commercial.
Hmm.
So it's just really balanced. I mean, I try and like I don't try and limit myself to one avenue.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about your first investment property and your investment properties. So I want to kind of go into that. What were some of the ways you guys financed it? Like, did you have to get really creative with the financing for your properties, or were there different methods that you use for each one to make it work?
Different methods.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely different methods. I mean, like when you first getting started, it's a little bit more difficult because I mean, not a lot of people have access to like 20K or maybe not 20K, but like if you depending on where you're getting started, what area, you might have to come up with 50K or
Hmm.
100K or whatever, and you're not comfortable using hard money loans, which is like going to somebody else and borrowing the money to acquire the property and fix it up at a high interest rate. So you pretty
Right.
much have to come out of pocket on your own, and that's pretty much what we did. Is
Right.
save and buy those properties cash,
Got you.
and it definitely wasn't easy, but I would say we used creative methods too.
Yeah.
Basically however we could, we pretty much we saved some of it. We got some loans. I don't even remember. I think it might have been. Well, how did we do it? I think we pretty much saved for the first few, and it was just
Hmm.
like like taking small vacations and not really living extravagant, living beneath our means, and just saving. And my wife and I also another reason how we were able to make that transition is we decided to skip a wedding, and that's pretty much the money that we would have spent there is what we spent to acquire that first property.
Understood. That's very dope. That's some discipline and sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah, and it's crazy because it didn't come without backlash. But just because when you're doing something that's against the grain, people are like, "How could you not want a wedding?" And my mentality and basically our mentality was, man, like, you spend 30 or 40K in a wedding, you might as well have just set it on fire because it's gone. You know what I mean? Like, you'll never get that back. You'll have the pictures, you'll have the memories, which is great, but you can never go get that money back. Versus if you put it on a property, you're just transferring it to the brick. It's not like you spent it, because you can always go to a bank and go pull out all your money, or you can always sell the property and get your money back. And it just made a lot more sense for us starting out, not to start off a marriage with almost poor.
This might be another podcast topic. It's like, where do you find, how did you know what I'm saying? How did y'all come to that same mindset? As this is I think this is valuable information. So we're gonna talk about it if you want to talk about it. I think it's important, and I just you know what I'm saying, finding someone on the same wavelength. Were y'all like friends before, or were y'all?
I knew my wife since kindergarten. Sorry to cut you off. So like, yeah, I knew my wife since kindergarten. Like, so we've been to each other. But I also think what's important is, knowing the person that you're with. Like, if my wife was somebody that, could not imagine her life without a wedding, then it would have been a lot more difficult to get her to see the vision, because, she would have felt like she was losing something by not having a wedding. So like, I wouldn't tell, like if I had to give somebody advice on it, you just got to know who you're with, or because like, you don't ever want to, like, I feel like budgeting and sacrificing certain stuff, like, if you don't understand the vision, it's gonna feel like a chore. But if you understand, it's not gonna feel like you're giving up anything, So, yeah.
What's that delayed gratification?
Exactly. And which is something that we plan on doing, is just having some type of event and having family and friends there down the line. But it just delaying that gratification, it pays dividends monthly, because we got a rental property, somebody's living in it, and we can always borrow against it to be able to have a wedding later on. But had we had the wedding first, we might not be able to afford that property today because the value has gone up. So they're not being sold at the price that they were being sold at. So
that was a bar, and I wrote it down. So if you see me use it. Delayed gratification pays dividends monthly.
Yeah.
Or you know what I'm saying, or for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Dang.
Definitely does.
Dope. That's very dope. And salute to y'all, man. Congratulations on everything.
I appreciate that, man.
So what is the, you know what I'm saying, what is you guys's, because I know you said you wanted to relocate. So is that like the next step to getting to where your goals, you know what I'm saying, like the end goal? Or is that just a stepping stone to, you know what I'm saying, then pivot to another thing? Like where do you see yourself, you know what I'm saying? What is the goal for you to pass down? And you know what I'm saying, what does that look like? Like, what does the future look like for Mr. Burgundy?
For us, really,
Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah. The future to me, I feel like my vision is to build a life for us where, we have options. That's really the goal. You know what I mean? And we're expecting our first child in a few months.
Congratulations. Big congratulations.
Thank you. We want to be able to provide that life for him, and for it to continue way after we're gone. So that's pretty much the vision, is just building something that's gonna last after we're gone, and also being able to enjoy the privileges of building during our lifetime as well. So living where we want to live. Us relocating, it may not be, it might not be a business move. It's just a lifestyle thing. We kind of want to be closer to a beach, so we just want to be closer to a beach.
Right.
I feel like in this space is kind of some things, like everything doesn't have to be an investment. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you take care of the big things and you make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, you can live a little bit and do things that may not make investment sense because, you're still here to live a life. You know what I mean? Like nobody
Right.
gets to be 90 years old and say, hey man, I'm glad I never enjoyed myself so that my kids can get 10 million or whatever. You still can enjoy the money as well and enjoy
Yep.
yourself. So, yep.
I like that, man, because you're right. You don't want to get too caught up in it to where you miss out on life, and that's very important.
Yeah, it definitely
Oh
is.
shoot.
But I do think one thing I want to add though, I do think that that balance is very key because
Hmm.
like when you're starting, like it may be the opposite where like you don't like you really can't afford to, I don't want to say you can't afford to enjoy life, but when you're building something from nothing, you have to really sacrifice some of that enjoyment in order to build. You know what I mean? You got to gain that like that you got to gain that what am I trying to say? Momentum to be able to, get to
Right.
that point. You don't want to be starting out and just enjoying yourself and taking vacations and things like that and not really working because then you'll never get where you need to be.
Right. I definitely understand that. Um, Man, this has been a great interview. I wanted to ask if where did the name Mr. Burgundy come from?
Um, you know what? Burgundy is my favorite color, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how I kind of got the name. Well, I kind of it's funny. I got the name kind of because I was thinking of what I wanted to call the company, and
Mm.
when I was in real estate school, like we would do these quizzes, and you'd have to do the quiz on your phone, and well, not the answers, but your name would be on the kind of like on the projector or whatever. It was something called
Hmm.
the Kahoot. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called the Kahoot. It's like a something that teachers will make you do or whatever. It's like but anyway, I, I had put my name as Mr. Burgundy, and it
Yeah.
kind of just stuck. And I also didn't want to put my like full name on social media and things of that nature because in the past, the career field that I was in, people are trying to look you up, and I didn't want them to be able to look me up and see what I was doing in my personal life because it was a
Understand.
more dangerous career that I was in.
I understand that. I understand that. I thought it was from like Reservoir Dogs or something like that.
Oh
That's
no,
why,
no, no.
because they use like code names in it. And it's been a while since I watched the movie, but that's what I thought it was from. But that's dope. That's dope. I understand it though. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say thank you again for coming to the channel and shedding the light on that. Hopefully we can get another podcast going in because I know real estate changes. Like the market on real estate changes. There's always different things coming and going. Like the interest rates and like the price of wood and
Yeah, it's
how it's
crazy.
harder to. You said what?
So yeah, it's crazy. I seen that the other day. Somebody posted about the price of lumber and things of
Mm-hmm.
that nature. Um, I was joking with my wife because every time when we do a project, she always wants to get rid of like the scrap pieces of wood, so like the pieces that have been cut. And I'm like that type of person where like I always want to save it because I'm like, man, every time I go to the store, I'm spending money. Like I can use this piece for something else, even
Mm-hmm.
though it's not, it's not a pretty piece. I can use it for something else. So
Right.
I sent her that tweet like, "Hey, look at this. See?"
Like and next.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, I do appreciate you coming. If there's any words you want to leave the audience with, I also want to see if it's okay to connect your socials, and I'll put them in the description if that's okay with you. If anyone has any
Of course,
questions about real estate.
of course, of course. I definitely appreciate you for having me on the platform. If you got any other questions, man, I'm here, man.
I actually, you know what I'm saying? I think this was a really good interview.
Mhm.
Just for like a type of, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, coming from someone from a point of not owning a home to being a first time home buyer, right?
Gotcha.
And then how to make that home work for you, whether you want to do like a house hack or a just sit on the house and figure out ways to get equity.
Mhm.
Um, so even I learned some things in this interview. If there are any questions that my audience has, we can drop them in the comments, and maybe we can get another interview about real estate because I think that, um, like it's like an American thing, right? To want to own real estate.
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to hit off on. Thank you very much again for coming to the show and just giving that knowledge on real estate. Like I
Thank you
said,
for
I'm gonna
having me.
put all the links, any social links. I know you have Twitter and Instagram. I'll put them in the description so that people will know where to find you. Make sure y'all go follow the page Mr. Burgundy because it's a lot
Thank you.
of good information on real estate. Like I said, I learned stuff from the post that he posts because it's not just like a buy real estate post. You know what I'm saying? It goes into depth. Like it gives you, you know what I'm saying, some real information. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here because it's not just like the top layer of stuff that you post. Like it's actually like things that you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's more in depth thing. It gives you some actually like more general knowledge uh, about the real estate market. So again, thank you very much for doing that. Like you know what I'm saying, just being active on socials and putting that type of stuff out there to make people think. And thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. And I definitely want to salute you as well, for what you're doing on, I mean, just with the trucking industry and with the YouTube page and just getting that information out there as well, because that's a very viable career for a lot of our young men and women out there
Mm-hmm.
that they'll be able to you know provide for themselves and for their families without
Sure.
having the burdens of student debt and things of that nature. So it's very important. So for people to be able to see that there's other ways out there to make an honest living.
Yes,
You know,
sir.
you highlighting that for millennials because I don't really see a
Right.
lot of yeah, I don't see a lot of young truck drivers out there. Just like when people come to do work for me, not a lot of the contractors are young. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
plumbers, electricians, they're not 25. They're like 75. So it's like that gap in age is making it so that God forbid, like whenever they go, there's gonna be
A shortage.
yeah, exactly. A huge shortage of people qualified to be able to do that work, and I think it's because we mainstream media has glorified getting a college degree, and young people don't really know that there's other options out there for them that are lucrative, and being able to see people that are in those spaces, it definitely helps. Because I know even
Mm-hmm.
myself, seeing young Black people or just people in general doing real estate made me know that it was possible. I just knew
Mm-hmm.
that I had to figure it out. So, the same as, yeah.
I like that, man. And that's a whole other conversation right there. It's just like, how do we get more young people into these uh, different careers and get this, like, get that different mindset. Um,
It
like I
starts
said,
at
not
home.
that mainstream. You said what?
It starts at home. It starts at home.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Because I mean, if your parents are more educated, or well, I don't want to say more educated, and people think like college educated, but if they understand, what's going on in society, and they're able to, let you see everything that's going on, and help you make an informed decision, then it'll be easier to get kids into those fields
Hmm.
because like their parents understand, like, okay, he can go be a painter, he can go
Hmm.
be a plumber and still be good, he can go be a truck driver, he can be a real estate agent, he can be an HVAC guy. These are all
Right.
things that should not require a degree and a ton of student loans, that you can make a great living.
Killing,
Um,
make a killing.
yeah, and it's very important to have us in the space as well. Even one thing I do want to add is we need some more Black appraisers out here as well. Real estate
Appraisers.
related.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've
we
looked
need.
into that in the past.
Yeah,
The appraising
that's it.
for real estate.
Yeah, because that's very, very important. And to this day, granted, it's not how it was then, but that's a way that a lot of wealth is stolen from our community through
Yes,
the
sir. I read about that.
yeah, through the appraisal process. So if we have
Hmm.
more people that look like us, we'll be able to get more favorable or accurate appraisals on the properties that we own. So it won't negative, it won't be a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to talk about that. Like just have a conversation where we just talk about, you know what I'm saying, those different industries. I think that even a small conversation might be able to shed some light on like just
Definitely.
different ways there are to, you know what I'm saying, to get you may make a solid living, make a decent living, make great money that don't require that college degree. I think that would be a great conversation one day that maybe we can get a couple people to come on and just talk about it. I think that'd be dope.
Yeah, it would. It would. And one last thing,
Mhm.
and another thing that, going into those industries, allow people to, that, another benefit is that it allows you to set your own rates. So a lot of jobs that we would get with a college degree, somebody else tells you what your salary is going to be.
Mhm.
Whenever you go into a career that like a HVAC technician or a plumber, you're able to set your own rate. So if you feel like you're worth $100 an hour, you can be paid $100 an hour.
And
Whereas like if
somebody's
you're
going to pay
working
you.
exactly like so there's no salary cap or anything of that nature. So that's definitely something to consider as well. So
I like that, man.
yes, sir. Thank you for having me on though.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, everybody. Like I said, go follow Mr. Burgundy on Instagram, on Twitter. It's your boy Chris Lee TV. Thank you again for coming on. We out of here. Deuces.
Peace.